You were never supposed to understand that your donations mostly pay consultants, that your donations don't support your values.
Okay, can I just say, yes, when you donate to an organization, you pay that organization's employees. That would be like saying, did you know when you buy a burger, it doesn't just go to making more burger meat, but also to cashiers and burger flipper? Yes, of course. That's how it works. We're going to watch Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, for those who are probably mostly YouTube frogs and how you say like Twitch frogs and stuff. You guys probably don't know this, but Steve Bannon runs a very successful podcast, actually. Like, I'm talking about, I was looking at the views that his show gets, and like I'm talking like he's like rivaling, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was just I saw a particular episode that was very popular, but it seems like the numbers he's getting is like rivaling like Steven Crowder and like Alex Jones. Like it seemed to be like a pretty popular show, which kind of shocked me because it's not on YouTube. It's not on Facebook as far as I could tell. It's not really shared on Twitter, which I think just shows how his time in the Trump administration, he's been able to build up enough of an audience to bring with him off onto a platform that's generally not that, I guess you could say, trafficked by general audiences. In reaction to much of this Lauren Boebert stuff, Marjorie Taylor Greene did end up going on Steve Bannon's program and doing an interview. And Fluff helped me because I was having trouble finding it, which again, then even confuses me further on how it is so popular. It's in 4 parts, and I wanted to watch the interview, considering this is one of the most popular online conservative shows out there that I guess we don't really talk about. So, since we've never actually stepped into his war room or looked at the type of content it produces, I'm interested in seeing what it's like.
Radical Marxist agenda.
Well, okay. I don't know what I expected, but that's an introduction.
Do you feel helpless? Want to know how to fight back? Well, here's the answer. ThePrecinctStrategy.com is a free resource on how to become your local GOP precinct committeeman.
Dude, unironically, I want to shit on Steve Bannon, on his show and everything. What he is doing, like having a website like that immediately advertised at the start of the show. Like, here's the website, here's the online resource. This is the stuff I talked about in that video I made about what the problem with the online left is, that we don't know how to do that. And so just watching the show and it immediately opens up with, hey, here's how you directly get involved in your online Republican Party. It's concerning.
There are over 400,000 committeeman seats across the U.S., but what the GOP establishment doesn't want you to know is that 200,000 of those seats are vacant. We need America First patriots to fill these seats. It's time to fight and kick the rhinos out. Take action now. Be a
I don't know why the Roman legions are involved here. Dude, it's so weird how people talk about Rome when you talked about the far right. On one side, Rome was so amazing and so cool, and then in the next sentence it's like, but they all had butt sex and then everything collapsed, right? It's like, is it cool or is it butt sex? I mean, I think that's cool, but I mean, I don't know, man.
Now, according to the Post, Trump and his supporters are pushing a plan to place loyalists in key election posts, from poll watchers and precinct judges to county clerks and state attorneys general. The Trump supporters seeking office claim they just want to secure the system.
One thing that we've seen, especially since the January 6th insurrection, is that Republican state parties especially are drilling down into local races. I've heard things like Steve Bannon has targeted the top 20 clerks in the 5 states in which President Trump lost, to actually get them elected into positions. Can you talk about the need for Democrats to match this and to really, instead of talking a lot of times at 20,000 feet, to get down into the trenches to keep us a democracy?
Yeah, or even mainstream Republicans. You know, after I went to this National Conservatism Conference, I went out to Oklahoma. I was with a lot of Trump people. I went out to West Texas. I was with some Trump people. And they were Republicans, but they were not this brand. They were not Steve Bannon. And when I described to them what I just heard or what Steve Bannon might stand for, They looked at me like I was on Mars. Like they said, no, we're a business party. We're a free market party. That's still their Republican Party. But as we've seen again and again in history, go back to the Russian Revolution, a small vanguard that's really motivated, that thinks about this stuff 24 hours a day, can have immense power. And we happen to be an age where majorities don't rule right now. Angry minorities rule. These are people are on the move because of the information age. There's just a lot of resentment against what's perceived as the corporate cultural elite. Republicans for the traditional reasons. Or I was in Southern Virginia during the governor's race, and people, are angry about how their kids were treated. They don't want their kids learning that America's a bad country, and they're not hyped up on whatever Steve Bannon is smoking. But they're out there. The question is, do they have institutional power? Do they have voice? Are Republican senators who are running for office afraid of them? And one of the guys at the conference was this guy, J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance. Dude, if you want to see somebody who's unhinged on Twitter, dude, check out J.D. Vance's Twitter. It is just actually, let's look at it right now, because he has a few Twitter accounts. Okay, this is his priority at the moment. This won't get you canceled on social media, but Congressman Jim Banks gets locked out of his own account for saying that men and women are different.
I'm going to say, listen, you ain't got to chop shit up. I am for the white genocide. I am for the total erasure of the white race. You don't have to chop this up. Yes, I am for all of you white bitches dying like flies. I am for it.
Wow. The thing is, okay, can I be honest? That shit's like disgusting. It's gross. It's terrible, But why? Like, I don't get offended when I hear that stuff. I don't. And I think the reason why, as I view it in the same way, I'm trying to think of a way to describe. It's like if a toddler walked up to me and said they're gonna fight Mike Tyson and they're gonna beat him up. I don't see that same anger for JD Vance when it's like there's a hate crime or tweet that's extremely racist. Because for these types of things that Libs of TikTok is specifically highlighting, right? Which is like a far right Twitter account. There are also the same type of calls that are just super racist towards black people. I've seen them as well, right? And so I am just interested in the fact that this is the particular one that's getting this reaction, and this is the particular one that JD Vance is highlighting. And it's gross, it's disgusting. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't have that impact on me. It doesn't have the rage bait that I think that's the point of it. Man, it took like 5 seconds on his account. That's what we find. And so until the majority can make the JD Vances of the world think, oh, you got to be with us, not with Steve Bannon, then it's a pretty impotent majority.
Okay, welcome to the War Room. 24/7 here with the Vanguard. It's Tuesday, 30 November, year of our Lord 2021. Advent has started. Run up to the holidays, and there's a firestorm brewing here on Capitol Hill. Taylor Greene is going to walk us through. These are, was it a correlation of forces? Just said that for David Brooks so he can melt down more about the Bolshevik analogy. But no, we're coming. We're working 24/7 a day. We're not backing off. And this is a way, it's called participatory democracy. Because you're out there, you're not at 20,000 feet. You're in the trenches. You're one of the leaders in the trenches. Give us your assessment of this cold open first, what MSNBC and the Washington Post and David Brooks, the old, bow tie with the wire rim glasses. What David needs is an injection of courage, because you got to see what you see. I'm just looking at his background right now. I'm trying to get a feel for his show. There are no conspiracy, but there are no coincidences. By the way, this guy, darling of the far right, one of the many warriors against the evil pedophile elites, he personally was like, hey, Jeffrey Epstein, how's it going? Let me explain to you how to talk to the media about your sex trafficking, right? He was giving him advice, just throwing it out there. But what really triggers them is when they see that the people are responding by their actions to what you're doing.
Oh, no. Oh, Steve, that was so fantastic. I'm so glad you played it for me. He should have had you on. You would have informed him correctly that there's over 100 that are being targeted. But here's what it really says, everyone watching the show. This says how powerful you are, because
No, this is about the people. This
is about the people. We just provide
a platform. Because they get the unexpurgated version of you and Mike Lindell and the anti-CCP groups.
Right.
And Mike Lindell, you remember his cyber conference where he said he was going to break everything down. He was going to reverse the election through revealing all the information. And then he just showed everybody a bunch of random code, said this is the evidence. And we basically never heard anything about his cyber proof again. And every week he comes out with a new bill of goods saying, I'm going to turn it all over. And nothing ever came of it. That Mike Lindell, who just gave Donald Trump one of the saddest interviews in his career, Yes, brilliant.
We get Cortez and Navarro talking about, Dr. Malone on the virus. We get guys on here about the economy and what the reality is, and we connect the dots.
It's
and all
the
we do is allow that to the people to make their own decisions.
Yes, people are smart.
No, but here's what they're afraid of. This is the elites, the global elites, and the elites that run this town, the conventional wisdom.
Okay, here it is. Okay, now we're getting into it now. The elites. I hate that word. And I hate it more. I remember when I first got into politics, I'd hear it, and that use of that word didn't bother me at all. The longer I've been into it, the more I hate it. Because when I talk to one person and I hear the elites just mean like the big business people. The business people who have a lot of money. Then for some people, the elites could mean the lizard people. It could mean the Jews. It could mean the politicians. It could mean Hollywood. It could mean basically anyone. Depending on who you're talking to, the elites takes a totally different meaning. And so because of that, by using the word elites, you appeal to a much larger audience of conspiracy theorists or people who are fearful of whoever the elites are. So let me explain how this marketing works, right? So let's say that I make a statement and I say, the rich fat cats are destroying America. Now that appeals to a very certain section of the country, right? Maybe socialists, maybe people who are really angry at the rich. But another person says, the Jews are destroying the country. That appeals to like neo-Nazis, anti-Semites, a very, disgusting section of the country. And another person says that the pedophiles are controlling the country in the Hollywood. Then that appeals to the QAnon people. But if you just use the word elites, it covers all of it. Therefore, whoever you think the elites are, when someone says elites, you just put that image you have in your head into that sentence. And so you make a broader coalition of crazed lunatics.
They're panicked now because, and they say the guardrails are coming off. Working class and middle class citizens are going and volunteering to be election officials.
That's right.
So tell me what is anti-democratic about why are they so triggered when people are responding to you going around the country and inspiring people?
So the reason why people are angry isn't because people are signing up to get involved in our democracy. That's like a good thing. The reason why people are worried is because after we had a president push baseless claims about election fraud that led to an election being stolen, which those claims, which were completely baseless, led to people trying to storm the Capitol, multiple people dying, bombs being planted, and a general disintegration and degradation of people's trust in our democracy, as people are trying to put more and more restrictions between people in the ballot box, right? That is why people are concerned, because they're worried people might try to use that to back up baseless claims about conspiracy theories. As we saw Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor to the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, say when asked, why can't we have a Myanmar-style coup in the United States? That was when the military junta threw over a civilian government, a democratically elected government, on baseless claims of conspiracy theory around election fraud. That man responded, there's no reason why we can't do that, endorsing the idea of a military coup and a military dictatorship, a military junta. And so the concern isn't just like random moms and pops signing up to be like pollsters. Cool, good for them. The concern is the motivation for people getting involved and the kind of, I guess you could say, the specter that's going on around our democracy right now and around specifically election security.
Yeah, it's not about the party. It is not about, we have more Republicans. We have more Republican seats. It's not about that at all, Steve, and the people know it. It's about winning elections with the right people that are actually going to put America first policies in place and do the job they're elected to do, not to come up here to this cesspool here in Washington, D.C. to get connected and join the swamp and join the swampy ways, because it's the ways of Washington that have failed this country, and this is why they are so threatened by you. They're threatened by people that have had enough, are willing to get involved, that will take time out of their very busy work days to step up, go to the right places, volunteer, get in charge with our elections, make sure that we're not going to lose our elections due to cheating or fraud, and also watching over your kids in school and every other elected official, whether it's county, city, state or the federal government. I'm so proud of all you people. And Steve, you have the strongest show. And I just want to recognize that all of your listeners are amazing. And it's because of the hard work that you and your team do.
People are tired of just being passive. The inspiration you have and a handful of others is to go around the country and talk to people right from the heart.
Right, because I'm one of the people, Steve. I am that person that was at home, that was a voter, that owned a business, raising my children, working involved in my community and my church, that got fed up with it.
Listen to these describing characteristics. I was a person who sit in a home and have offspring, is involved in the community, very vague, went to church, a thing that very, very large section of, like, it's not like, these aren't like working class traits or like these are just things that basically everyone who is in politics could check off. Literally everything she just said, like Biden could have said. Literally basically every politician could say, okay? It's so vague. Yeah, you're just grasping at straws for like the working class common man aesthetic.
Fed up with it.
Was she fed up by like the Jewish space lasers? Or was she just sick of like bullying school shooting survivors on the street?
David, why are you supporting the red flag laws? If Scott Peterson, the resource officer at Parkland, had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school. Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? And why are you using kids to get to as a barrier? Raising my children and also watching over your kids in school. You don't know how to defend your stance?
As we can see in that video, they're clearly trying to get a rise out of me by asking incredibly triggering questions, saying that the name of the shooter at my high school. You know, as I was told growing up, it's just better not to respond to bullies and just walk away.
He has nothing to say because he's paid to do this. Guess what? I'm a gun owner. I'm an American citizen. And I have nothing, but this guy with his George Soros funding and his major liberal funding has got everything. I want you to think about that. That's where we are. And he's a coward. He can't say one word because he can't defend his stance. It's absolutely pathetic. You people at home, you are doing a way better job in your life managing your checkbook, managing your job, managing your business, taking care of your family than anyone is up here in Congress. But you want to know why they're really threatened? They're losing control.
Well, if she's talking about the Democrats, they won the election. I like, if there's any like means of like what is or isn't control in this country, right? I think winning an election is the most obvious example. Also, what I really hate is people who get involved in politics to then say, I don't want to do government. I got involved in government because I hate government and despise government. So I got involved in government. Then why? Just go live in the woods, okay? If you don't like government and don't care for the bureaucrats and all the regulations and all this big business bureaucrat talk, right? Then don't get involved. You can literally just not. Do you know how many people live their day-to-day life not worrying about politics? A lot more than you think. A lot of people will never ever stumble upon my program or any political program or have any interest at all. They just stay home, play video games, fish, do that stuff, right? And I would like for them to get involved in politics. I would like for them to show an interest, but you know what? They don't. And that's their freedom as Americans to do that. I think it is nice that people could do that if they choose to, right? Mrs. Green could do the exact same thing. And everybody who does that whole shtick about I hate government, I hate government, I hate government. Also, I hate all these regulations. Unless we're talking about elections, baby, then more regulations the better. But I hate government and I hate government regulations. Anyway, here's my new list of 30 new ways we're going to try to stop people from getting to the ballot box.
You were never supposed to understand that your donations mostly pay consultants, that your donations don't support your values.
Okay, can I just say, consultants, your donations, like, is she talking like to political parties? Yes, a decent amount of donations to political parties and stuff like that, they go to consultants. And you want to know what, everybody? I am going to tell you guys a secret. I am a political consultant that those donations pay for. Yes, actually, I am a political consultant. I work for a political PAC. You want to know what I do? I manage social media, do data management, do calls and communications for the vital things that the organization needs to function. Yes, when you donate to an organization, you pay that organization's employees. That would be like saying, did you know when you buy a burger, it doesn't just go to making more burger meat, but also to cashiers and burger flipper? Yes, of course. That's how it That's how it works.
Because they just prop up these majority makers that do nothing but moderate our party, and then our party ends up playing to the middle so that there becomes this one uniparty. You see, you were never supposed to know that.
What is that? What?
And then our party ends up playing to the middle so that there becomes this one uniparty.
The uniparty? Honestly, I hope she runs with this. Because if this is the line of reasoning she's running with, then why vote for Republicans at all? Just disengage. If they're both the same party, I want more of that. I want more Republican doomerism about elections. Because the more doomer they get about elections, the better it helps us, honestly.
People at home were supposed to be busy with your lives, not informed, not engaged, and not paying attention so they could continue to do whatever they want to do up here in Washington, and so that their whole network of family, friends, political consultants, C4s, C3s, PACs, all of these people make a bunch of money, and you people just keep donating, and you're supposed to vote the way you're supposed to vote, and you're just supposed to be good little Americans. Well, this is not how it is anymore. We are changing it. We're taking our country back.
You know, I love how much she said so much with literally saying nothing.
We're stopping communism.
Like she attacked like political consultants, like the existence of that position. She's talked about, I guess she's now going into the communism, right? She's talked for a good like 3 to 4 minutes now and said basically nothing.
And protecting freedom and doing this for our kids.
I say this every single time somebody brings up communism. Define it. I would like to see Marjorie Taylor Greene define communism.
Participating as a citizen in Georgia and building a company and doing everything you've been taught since you were a little girl is what citizens do.
Yes.
Did you have any idea of the scale of the corruption and incompetence in this city?
I understood there's a lot of corruption, but what shocked me is the incompetence. Unbelievable incompetence. Do you know right now, here it is, we're right on the verge of the beginning of December, and we don't.
Let's see how many bills she's passed. If we're talking about incompetence, I'm interested because she sponsored stuff like to award Kyle Rittenhouse a congressional gold medal. But I want to see actually like what she's passed. Is there anything really? Introduced. Oh, became law. To name the Department of Veterans Affairs community-based outpatient clinic. Okay, so literally nothing. Just renaming a thing. Oh, became law. Let's look at this one. Puppies assisting wounded service members. She was a co-sponsor of 317. Wonderful. Does anybody in chat know what she's passed? Does anyone? Has she passed anything? Here it is. Okay. She was the primary sponsor of one bill that passed to award 3 congressional gold medals to law enforcement officers, those who protected the American cities during Black Lives Matter. Okay, so literally not even anything that changed it. Okay, great. Okay, government incompetence. This is the expert. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, government incompetence. She's not on any committees. Do we remember why she isn't on any committees? Yes, does anybody remember why she isn't on any committees? Just, you know, just a thing we should maybe reflect upon that happened.
Forget 2022 calendar. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong. The government of the United States runs out of money on an annual basis on Saturday, the 3rd.
December 3rd.
No budget, no thing. Is there a whole set of meetings and strategies and plans of how to basically make sure the United States does not go turtle up?
This is if you're a private business, this is when you are in full panic. You are freaking out. You are meeting with everyone all day long. You're meeting with your investors. You're meeting with your employees. You're meeting with your managers. You're meeting with your customers, making sure they're not running away from you and going to someone else. If you're a business owner, this is code red on a level like anyone's never seen, but not our government. No, there's probably people watching the show right now, Steve, that happened to them in this past year, or they're on the verge of it because of these unconstitutional shutdowns that our government placed on them. They've gone through it. They know exactly what it's like, and it is absolutely unforgivable that our government did this to.
You want to know the funny thing is, okay, let's say you believe the shutdowns did everything. Even in the countries that didn't have shutdowns, there were still economic problems that came with it. And by the way, can I also say that recession that did happen happened under the Trump administration, and he bungled the pandemic, and that's why we're not out of it. Anyway, that's the first thing. If that's the case, then why wasn't she supportive of all of the bills that were proposed to help normal everyday people? And she was on the side of the party trying to limit child tax credits out to working people. What about all of the direct checks that Joe Biden tried to send out to the American people? Why was it only after the bill passed, Donald Trump out of nowhere said he was for $2,000 being sent to everyday Americans? Only after all the work was done. And then the Democrats said, okay, we'll do $2,000 then. They called Trump's bluff and they backed up on it. Why is it then, if the American people are suffering so much, and we're like, okay, if that's the case, let's help them, she doesn't come to the table? Very strange.
But yeah, right now on the verge of our government running out of money just shows you how pathetic and incompetent these people are. And they don't deserve your support. They don't deserve your votes. They don't deserve your donations.
I love how she's being very vague, not saying anyone specific, not calling out any specific Republicans, just saying generally the elites of the Republican Party. I want to hear names. Mitch McConnell? Well, of course, Mitch McConnell would be easier. She's in the House. And what about Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader? The same guy who actually came to your defense. Because he is, if you're talking about elites of the Republican Party, he is the minority leader. He would be the elites of the Republican Party. Let's hear Kevin McCarthy's name. But since Kevin McCarthy is one of the few people who actually stood in her corner when she was on the ropes for, supporting the executioning of Democrats, she's not going to do that. Keep it vague. Say the elites so you feel like you're fighting against something, when you could be just fighting against a made-up specter. Not to mention, somebody did bring this up in chat, when she talks about the elites, I would be very concerned considering her version of elites could include Jewish space lasers.
Is this the way the greatest nation on earth should be run, ma'am?
No, absolutely not. Nancy Pelosi, all the Democrats, and any Republican on board with their pathetic behavior and policies, they don't deserve your trust. They don't deserve to be in control of your money.
Okay, since we triggered the mainstream media and the supporters of the status quo.
Dude, the way Steve Bannon constantly, when he looks into the camera, his face is always like this. It isn't like, hi, how's it going? It's, hello. His eyes are looking up as his face is down, and it's just the creepiest look in the world. Not to mention the fact, all I can do is imagining that face consoling Jeffrey Epstein, giving him advice on how to interact with the media around his sex trafficking scandal. Fluff sent me, because they're the best, sent me the censored version of a threatening voicemail that Ilhan Omar received.
We know what you're up to. You're all about taking over the country. Don't worry, there's plenty that will love the opportunity to take you off the face of the
freaking planet.
Come get
lady freaking Muslim doo-doo.
You jihadist. We know what you are. You're a
freaking
traitor. You will not live much longer.
Lady.
I can almost guarantee you that these people are rising up, and you will be tried for a military tribunal, and you will be found.
Damn. Fun. Isn't that great?
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
I want to get your take on something that happened while y'all were gone from Washington, which is a comment that was made by your Republican colleague, Lauren Boebert, about Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who's one of the first Muslim women elected to Congress.
I looked to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. And I said, oh, look, the Jihad Squad decided to show up for work today.
What's your response to that comment from Congresswoman Boebert?
I have time after time condemned my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for racist tropes and remarks that I find disgusting. And this is no different than any others. As a member of Congress and seeing such division in our country, we all have a responsibility, both elected members.
By the way, can we look at, so I was just sent a thread. So this is the original video that is Ilhan Omar playing the threats that she got, right? Which hopefully Geek will edit the actual original video in. We had to play the censored version for the stream. But Lauren Boebert had a call with Ilhan Omar about her comments about the congressperson, right? She basically talks directly about what the call was like, on Telegram, right? You can see the direct results of the type of language that was directed towards Ilhan in the replies. Again, this is in replies from the people who are following Lauren Boebert, her supporters. You ought to have ignored that jihadist anti-American bitch. You're not contemporaries at all. Please ignore that motherfucking daughter of a suicide belt. God bless you and your family, Lauren. Don't apologize anymore to the terrorist Ilhan. That is all she is. And that doesn't have anything to do with her religion. It's just who she is. I would like to say for the record that there is no criminal complaints or any record of her engaging in terrorism or planting bombs or anything of that sort. Anyway.
We have a responsibility to lower the temperature, and this does not do that. I didn't come to Congress to throw bombs on Twitter, to take advantage of people by saying crazy things to raise money, or to be a comedian. I'll leave comedy to Dave Chappelle. I was disappointed in the comments. I was encouraged to see that she did apologize for the comments, and I believe that's a step in the right.
Now, to be clear, right here on the right is a Republican, and she is apologizing for what Lauren Boebert said. It's like, hey, it's a terrible thing to say. That's not a way somebody should conduct themselves. It is a milk toast condemnation, not calling for any actions, just saying it is not what she should say. Leave the comedy to Dave Chappelle, et cetera, blah, 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 right? Very interested to see how Mrs. Green would react.
But you do condemn this comment from Congresswoman Boebert?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, there's a lot to go through there. I don't need a bunch of neocons that are going to traipse over to Taiwan and then hold that up. No. You're a neocon.
Wait, what?
I don't need a bunch of neocons that are going to traipse over to Taiwan and then hold that up. No. You're a neocon. You're poisonous. You've been poisonous since you got here. Another person that says one thing on the campaign trail.
Wow. Wait, so he just doesn't care about Taiwan. He's fine with throwing Taiwan under the bus. I had no clue Steve Bannon's position was screw Taiwan. He has the Henry Kissinger position of Taiwan's insignificant. Bing Shilling. Bing Shilling. I love that he goes like, we're not controlled by the CCP, but don't listen to those people on Taiwan. Like immediately just like goes on to the like CCP approved talking point immediately. Like Jesus Christ. And I'm funny, is it the one, like the issue, like when it comes to Trump's relationship with China that showed that Trump was easily manipulated by President Xi when it came to Taiwan, just so happens to be the one issue that Steve Bannon doesn't care about at all. Just very convenient.
You lie, okay? We don't need you sitting there and hiding behind Taiwan or taking down the CCP. We're going to take down the CCP, fine. We don't need or want your help. The reason is you're a typical neocon that just wants the forever wars everywhere. You're Lindsey Graham mini-me. Okay, that's not what we want. So to hide behind that is outrageous. And I know I know the folks that are truly focused on taking down the Chinese Communist Party.
Can we? Okay, can we just say exactly why? Oh my gosh! Look, I don't know if I really want to get into this right now, but there are plenty of articles that go into how Trump caved and threw Taiwan under the bus. There's just one of them from the Daily Beast. This is just one story. I remember there was one point Trump was yelling back and forth with staffers, and he was like, I'm sick of hearing about Hong Kong and Taiwan. Or when he caved on the Uyghurs specifically, when he specifically said openly that he didn't bring the Uyghur issue up during 2017, 2018, that time period, because he didn't want it to compromise trade negotiations, meaning that he chose trade and the economic benefits over the rights of Uyghurs, which, I mean, it's very weird to just see Donald Trump supporters who have brought it up as a constant issue immediately when it was not beneficial to talk about this. Like, who cares? And we don't even need to talk about it. It's one thing to say, look, we need to still have a diplomatic relationship with China and da-da-da, even though human rights. It's another thing to just completely like, I'm not even going to mention the human rights abuses. We don't need to. We just need to talk about trade right now. The Uyghurs, Taiwan, Hong Kong, all these human rights issues are just as beneficial as they are for a talking point when it came to the Trump administration. As was talked about privately, as has been reported afterwards, after the Trump administration has left the White House. I don't know, man. I do not understand how Trump has been like advertised as the president who can take on Xi when he was manipulated by the man and has an inconsistent policy that flip-flopped.
We're not doing that. That's what that national conservatism thing, another phony, false front. We're not doing this. The neocon business, we're out of that business, okay? We're out of that business. We're not spending trillions overseas anymore on these forever wars and the blood and treasure of the new greatest generation, right? These generations coming up. So Nancy Mace, we don't need your help and we don't want your help, okay? Because all you are is a misdirection play, okay? We understand what you're trying to do, and you immediately go and I was in Taiwan and I did a Codell. We don't need it. You're a neocon, okay? And neocons are finished in this party. We're not doing that anymore. In the National Conservative, that phony front driven by AEI and others, we're not doing neocon anymore. You know, when you have Marco Rubio show up at a place, it's a joke. Okay, so we're not doing that. But I want to go to her.
By the way, can I read a quote from Trump? Taiwan is like 2 feet from China. We are like 8,000 miles away. If they evade, isn't a fucking thing we could do about it. Dude, he didn't care. I'm sorry. He didn't care about Taiwan. Trump once told me, I never want to hear from you about Taiwan, Hong Kong, or the Uyghurs. He said to then National Security Advisor John Bolton.
There's ways to do this and ways not to do this. And by the way, we are looking at working class Hispanics in the Rio Grande Valley, African American men. I keep saying are going to vote for us 50%.
Okay, buddy.
We've got a Muslim community that, by the way, is anti-Sharia law, anti the radical nature of the jihad.
Wait, is he saying that that the Muslim community supports Donald Trump? I'm sorry. Look, the Muslim community in the United States does not support the Republican Party. I am sorry. When you have the main figure and the former president of the United States and most likely the 2024 candidate publicly calling for Muslims to be banned from the United States, you can't then turn around like, oh no, actually he loves the Muslims. But he did call for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. But he did that out of love for Muslims. Like, what do you mean?
I don't understand the apology. But given the jihad nature, given what the jihad squad says all the time on hate towards Israel, hate towards the United States.
Okay, what specifically did she say that it would insinuate that Ilhan Omar is okay with terror attacks? Because when you call her the jihad squad, or you insinuate that she was like, oh, she doesn't have a bomb on her right now, don't worry, that's an insinuation that Ilhan Omar is a terrorist. So what did she say about Israel or the United States that would insinuate that she's okay with terror attacks?
She herself said people did something about 9/11. Yeah.
So she's misquoting, okay? What she's doing, she's clip chimping. And as a streamer, this is the most offensive thing you could possibly do, okay? What she's doing is she's forgetting that it was in the context of a much larger speech where she was saying, you cannot discriminate against Muslims and treat them like they're lesser because other people who just so happen to be Muslim did a terror attack. It was a speech not about downplaying the significance of 9/11. It was a speech and a statement made in the context of saying discrimination bad. So to call that statement out is very strange when the speech's message was don't discriminate against Muslims.
And then she hates Israel. She's pro-Hamas.
She's pro-Hamas. Really? I would like to see a source on that. Any statement. I mean, if I was to claim that somebody was pro-Hamas, that's a huge statement. I'm sure she's going to follow this up with a source.
She's pro-Al-Qaeda.
Okay, before a source, just putting out another claim. She's pro-Al-Qaeda. Massive claim. Would like to see a source on that.
She's basically an apologist for Islamic terrorists.
Okay, no sources on anything. Wonderful. Thank you.
There is no need to apologize to that woman because she will never stop. She's bloodthirsty. She wants
bloodthirsty.
She wants Republicans jailed. She does not care about
what? Which Republicans?
Our country. She's anti-American.
She wants you guys all off committees. She doesn't want you to have any voice at all.
No, and so Lauren.
Well, yeah, because the person on the left here was supporting the execution of Democrats. If you are supporting the execution and killing of other lawmakers, it's kind of hard for you to work with those lawmakers.
It is never enough for the Democrats. It's never enough for Ilhan Omar. It's never enough for the Jihad Squad. Nothing is
like she's saying. She's putting out a million claims out there and not backing any of it up with a source. She's just misquoting and Jesus.
Good enough for them. No one could bow deep enough for them to be satisfied because they
look. Let's say that I just randomly was like, no, Mrs. Green supports bombing abortion clinics. She supports it. She supports bombing abortion clinics. She wants to kill every black person. Yes, she wants to kill every single one. Not only that, but Miss Green has a plan to shoot every single Jewish person due to her fear of space lasers. These are a lot of claims. Do I need to back them up? Nah, I'm just gonna keep saying them until there's people who believe these things so wholeheartedly that they're willing to go threaten her or do terrible, terrible things. Because we just saw earlier in the stream, people openly threatening to kill Ilhan Omar. And we know that people have sent bombs towards, for example, AOC's office and have mailed them to them, trying to kill these people. And that during January 6th, certain Democrats were looked for to target and have fun with while they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence" during the January 6th insurrection. This isn't even talking about all the other plots and assassination attempts or any of that. Or, oh my God, I could go all day. The language that's being used here dehumanizes Ilhan to such an extent that many people, if you were to buy into everything that she was saying, it would feel like the only possible solution to deal with somebody so violent and such a threat to our national security would be to take action. This is the same thing that happened on January 6th. If you genuinely believe that the election is being stolen and that our democracy is about to be murdered, what are you going to expect people to do? You're going to expect them to storm the Capitol and plant bombs.
You don't see any Democrat or any quote-unquote moderate Democrat, Spanberger in Virginia 7, Luria in Virginia 2, you don't see any moderate Democrats ever come after the Jihad Squad. They let them go and they have the—
What do you mean? I'm sorry, but there, as a Democrat, there have been plenty of reports of leadership scolding members of the Progressive Caucus, like Ilhan Omar, like Rashida Tlaib, like AOC, for comments during the start of their terms, and for not voting with the caucus and trying to take stands on certain issues. And Ilhan Omar has been scolded quite a lot for some of her comments in reference to Israel.
Ilhan Omar committed immigration fraud. She married her brother. That's the most disgusting thing. We don't do that in our country. I'm sorry, American women.
Number one, okay? She needs to be careful here because this is going to hurt her with Southern Republicans. That's the first thing. Second thing, okay? This is just a Jacob Wohl Project Veritas conspiracy theory. There's no backing to it. It's been debunked time and time again. It has no basis in reality, okay? She's projecting. That's what's going on here.
We don't marry our brothers, but Ilhan Omar married her brother, constantly defending terrorism.
She has never defended terrorism.
And she even posted the Minnesota Freedom Fund bail bond link to bail out domestic terrorists when her own—
She did not bail out domestic terrorists, okay? And it's weird how, like, on January 6th, nobody that was involved in that is a domestic terrorist, but anybody involved in riots that don't agree with you are terrorists. This is why I don't agree with language labeling rioters or protesters or terrorists, is because the shit that happens is that once you do that, you could label the Hong Kong protesters terrorists because many of them did get violent. Hell, one of them lit someone on fucking fire, right? We have a word for it. It's rioter. Just use the word rioter. You don't need to virtue signal and call them terrorists. This is nothing else but virtue signaling.
This is one of the worst members of Congress. She's a disgrace to our nation. And then here we have Nancy Mace stepping up and attacking Lauren Boebert simply because Lauren Boebert had said something about Ilhan Omar. It's like, no big—
Yes, but it was what she said about Ilhan Omar. If you label another congressman a terrorist, then what you're going to see is people try to kill them. I'm sorry. If people started saying, this person's a terrorist, this person's a terrorist, this person's a terrorist, it's not that far to see people taking that into their mind and they believe it. This person's a terrorist, they're trying to destroy America, they're communists, they're evil, they're terrorists, they're literally destroying everything. And then they have to take it into their own hands. And we've seen this. We've seen people try to bomb AOC and kill her. We've seen bombs planted outside of the DNC and RRC during January 6th. We've seen the results of this language. We've seen the reports talking about the rise in extremism, not even in the military. What about the 2017 neo-Nazi terror attack from inside the United States military? It was an active duty neo-Nazi within the United States military who tried to create a mass casualty event. These are the results of this type of language. Unironically, even while she's trying to point the terrorist label at everyone else, is actively inspiring terrorism. Unironically. Whoever tried to kill AOC? What? Lamau? Oh my God. You guys remember when that guy shipped a bunch of like pipe bombs across the country to try to kill AOC, Nancy Pelosi, and a bunch of Democrats? An outspoken supporter of President Trump from South Florida was charged on Friday with sending explosive packages to at least a dozen of the president's critics, apparently bringing to a close an attempted bombing spree that has gripped the country just ahead of the midterm elections. The suspect, Caesar Sayok Jr., 56, was arrested outside the auto parts store near Fort Lauderdale after a fast-moving investigation, which authorities said they were able to pull a fingerprint from one of the bomb packages and collect his DNA from two others. Who seemed to be living in a van, was taken into custody on a day when 4 more explosive packages were found, including 2 intended for United States senators, both Democrats.
They call us racist. They call us insurrectionists, and those are nasty words that none of us are.
Wow, those are nasty words. They call us insurrectionists. That's so nasty. Anyway, you're a terrorist. Just completely over her head.
So when Nancy Mace goes out and wants to attack Lauren Boebert, yeah, she deserves to be called out because Nancy Mace is the one out of line pandering on CNN to Democrat donors.
She goes on the opposition party network, which is what it is.
I would like to see Steve Bannon ask Green her thoughts on Kevin McCarthy, because she constantly attacks other Republicans who don't have power over her, and she'll go against the Republican establishment. But then you ask her about specific House Republican leadership, like the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, and the tune seems to change.
What makes this thing, I don't want to say it's a lie, because I'm sure she can back it up, but she says she has to carry a gun now because she's getting threats from the right. She said both sides, but she said fringes of that. Has she come to anybody in Congress? Has she ever come to Congress, said people on the right? Because she's smearing people. She said people on the right.
It's smearing to say that. It's smearing to acknowledge that reality.
We see you Muslims.
Sandy Lady.
We know what you're up to. You're all about to.
By the way, when you say Sandy Lady Fluff and you censor it, are they using the N-word? Sand, you know?
In our country. Don't worry, there's planes that will love the opportunity to take you off the face of the
Freaking planet.
Yes, okay, so he did use the N-word. Got it.
Come get
Lady. Freaking Muslim doo-doo.
you jihadists.
You jihadist. You jihadist. Lauren Boebert, of course, called Ilhan Omar a member of the Jihad Squad, as did Steve Bannon and Mrs. Green.
You will not live much longer.
Lady.
I can almost guarantee you that we the people are rising up and you will be tried for a military tribunal.
By the way, he's calling for, at the end of it, literally for like a military takeover. He wants a dictatorship in the United States. Let's go back to this delusional show.
But I think leadership ought to step in here. We ought to find out what the situation is.
Well, and I will say
because I'd like to see the receipts on that. And by the way, if she has been threatened and she needs to wear a gun.
She had something happen at her house where people graffitied her front. I mean, listen, it's serious. We get death threats all the time.
I understand that. So do I. But
yeah.
I'm saying, but when you say that people on the far right, I think you got to back that up, or leadership got to step in.
Why is it that when the left gives a death threat, you don't need to back it up, death threats from the left, evil left. But when it's the far right, which I guess Steve Bannon is just admitting, yes, I am the far right, nothing.
Yeah, I don't
why
know
is
if
leadership
that's true.
not all over her right now about her attacking Republican Congress?
They're always all over us whenever we say or do anything, but it's the Nancy Maces in our party that need to be called out. They consider, here's the deal. In the GOP conference, they consider conservatives the fringe. This town up here thinks conservatives are the fringe. We are not the fringe. We are the base of the party, which is about 70% of Republican voters.
More.
More, 75%. You know why Trump is so popular? Trump is so popular because he spoke to the common man and woman in America, and we love him for it. And this is why Trump is so popular. And this is what the GOP conference needs to do. We need to be conservative and be it completely, because we'll pull in people to vote for us that don't even vote because they don't feel like Republicans represent their conservative values. We should step up to the plate. We need to represent traditional family values and America First policies. That's how the GOP conference can win elections and never lose again.
Does the conference need to step up and hold the Jihad Squad, hold Omar and these people accountable for what they've been saying and the actions they've been taking?
Yes. Ilhan Omar doesn't deserve committees. She absolutely does not deserve committees.
Okay, now indicating support for executing Democrats, that does deserve committees. A bunch of lies about her marrying her brother and taking all of her statements out of context, that doesn't deserve committees. Calling for execution does deserve committees. Okay, we understand the standard. Wonderful.
She is on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Why is that woman?
Because the Democratic Party has her back. That's why.
Oh,
they have her back.
Amen. They have her back. And
That's
so
the difference in the two apparatuses. They have her back, and the Democratic Party, the Republican Party here is no time for the Trump movement.
Yes, and that we need to hold accountable. That right there, we've had enough of it.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the countries on the verge of bankruptcy. Okay?
Let's take down the CCP.
What is this? Okay, we got 2 more parts and we're done with this. We found the song. Take down the CCP. By the way, he looks evil. He has like the tiny little pet dog. He has like a completely white outfit. He's in front of like some nice furniture. It looks like he's on an ancient chair. He looks like he's about to like order the slaughtering of like a village in like the middle of Timbuktu.
Take down the CCP.
By the way, can I just say how weird it is to like have like an anthem when you say take down the CCP? Are you saying we should like sponsor rebellions? Are you saying we should like try to cause the collapse of the Chinese god? Like what does that mean, right? Because if that's what you're asking for, you're literally insane. Okay, like what does it mean? Like I think it just means a general sentiment of we must struggle with the Communist Party of China. Yes, I don't know.
Let me tell you what I've been through, baby. Lived a life that was hella unfair.
Let me tell you what I've been through, baby. Lived a life that is hella unfair.
Communism sucks. Hard for me to give a fuck. Try to tell them and they try to keep it on the hush.
Anyway, that's enough of this song. Let's go back to the Steve Bannon. By the way, apparently Mace responded to this Marjorie Taylor Greene interview and she just said, "That shit crazy."
When you showed up here on the 20th and Biden had the inauguration with 7 people there, and of course people were running out of town. It's going to be 50 new states, 40 new Supreme Court justices. It's all over. It's over. I'm going to go to Florida, Texas. This town is vacated. We need to go through all of these bills. The American people need a wake-up call of exactly what is in here. And you would get up there and they hated you for it. You would slow everything down. Let's read these bills. And then when people see these bills, they go, oh, my God, look at what these folks are trying to do. Mm-hmm. Now we're at a place. It's all converging on a time. And for the second time, we have them boxed, okay? We let them off the hook in September. We have them boxed. They don't make payroll this weekend. On Saturday, it's over unless they kick the can down the road. And here's why. They haven't come up with a plan to be voted on to finance the government on an annual basis, which is still $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion deficit.
By the way, unemployment has hit a record low, and we have cut child poverty in half, okay? These are 2 achievements that Donald Trump couldn't even have dreamed of, that the Build Back Better plan helped us achieve. I'm sorry. Not to mention the child tax credits and the direct deposits and all the other successes of it. No, we're capping insulin at $35, man. Dude, insulin prices has been one of the biggest like issues when we talk about people's like medical costs at home for forever. Did we actually win the negotiating drug prices? Didn't we get there in there? $35 for insulin is communism. Good point. I haven't thought that.
$1 trillion when you add it all up and stop the phony accounting. So tell me what the plan is to make them spend as much time as they have to come back to the American people on their basic operating plan, which is the annual budget and the appropriations bill, and then to have a reasonable discussion with the American people on why mommy and daddy have to raise the credit card limit. Because the deplorables have the leverage. This is why they're hammering us every day in the Washington Post. You have the leverage because if these senators are too afraid to sit there and go, no, we can't do the debt ceiling anymore because our constituents are wise to it. So what is your recommendation? You have these 3 converging forces, but it seems like the forces are all trying to clear the way so the Democrats get maximum time to put together this Build Back Bankrupt bill.
That's right. They're getting maximum time, and there's one person to blame for that, and his name is Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell. That's the reason why. Famous supporter of Joe Biden's policies.
Everything that we're going through right now, we shouldn't be going through. Mitch McConnell, there were 2 bills two bills, everybody, that were tied together. It's Biden's full agenda, the Democrat agenda, which is Bernie Sanders' presidential agenda. It is the Green New Deal. It is full socialism.
So again, question for Marjorie Taylor Greene. We never even got to tweet it out, okay? Hey, at Marjorie Taylor Greene, you called Biden's agenda full socialism recently on Steve Bannon War Room. I was just wondering, what is your definition? Wonderful. Let's see what happens with this tweet.
And they're all packed in the two bills, infrastructure and the Build Back Better bill, BBB. That's not Building Back Better, it's Building Back Broke. The squad, the progressives in the Democrat Party, were saying, we will not vote for these separately. We want them tied together. The AOC said they're lock and key. That's how tightly they were tied together. But here's what Mitch McConnell did. Mitch McConnell, back in the summer, made it possible to create the infrastructure bill because he led, there were 19 senators, 19 Republican senators that worked with the Democrats to create Joe Biden's infrastructure bill that less than 10% of it is actually infrastructure. Shame on Mitch McConnell. He should have never have done that. In the Senate, that is our one line of defense. The Senate is Republicans should hold the line. None of this has to be happening. But Mitch McConnell and 19 senators, they passed the infrastructure bill, sent it back to us at the House. This gave cover for 13 Republican sellouts, 13 Republican turncoats, traitors to vote.
Traitors! Can we just stop calling people who don't vote the way you want traitors and like backstab? Like traitors. They voted for an infrastructure bill, and that's treason. What we're saying is the participation of the process of democracy is treason. I'd like to also see her define treason. Another question. You said Republicans who voted for the infrastructure bill are traitors. Could you also define treason? Wonderful.
And all those senators, 19 of them that voted for this bill. Well, here's what happened. That infrastructure bill would have been defeated because there were 6 Democrats that were holding on to what they wanted, which I don't agree with, but they were holding on to that.
By the way, to be clear, in the world that she would want, which is, well, these 6 Democrats wouldn't have voted, if the Republicans didn't jump on board, then maybe the bill was defeated. But another reality is that the bill passes, but with those 6 votes after they add more progressive stuff to the bill. So the strategy she's asking for here could have actually came back and bit her in the ass.
You've been stripped of your committee assignments.
Yeah.
Why are those 13 on committees and you're not?
Which, by the way, stripped of committee assignments for social media garbage that was before I ever became a candidate.
To be clear, she was basically endorsing death threats against who are now her colleagues. I love how she'll downplay everything that she was involved with. But Ilhan Omar saying don't discriminate against Muslims, that's something that should get her committee stripped. Okay, got it.
I don't know why they haven't been stripped of their committee assignments, and I've been very vocal about that. December 3rd, the government runs out of money, okay?
Can't make payroll.
Can't make payroll.
Why is that, by the way? Because they haven't done the work of doing the appropriations bill. They haven't done a normal order process to come through and actually present.
I can't even tell you, we can't talk common sense anymore. They're so pathetic. Like, we can't even...
By the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene has never passed a bill. The only bill she passed was giving people awards, okay? She has not been involved in passing bills. It's for somebody who complains, basically, about government incompetence all the time and has never passed a bill outside of giving somebody an award. A little strange to me.
They deserve to go out of business. They should be fired. That's all I can say. He allowed, in October, the government was supposed to run out of money, but he passed a continuing resolution in October to go to December 3rd. And he bought the Democrats more time to pass infrastructure and the Build Back Better bill. Well, now they got infrastructure because Mitch McConnell helped them do that, and 13 Republicans in the House helped them do that. Now we're on the Build Back Better bill. Remember, it passed in the House House just 2 weeks ago. Now it's back in the Senate where Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are holding the line.
Your point is, if you made them focus on what they need to do to operate the government, get the appropriations bill,
Put
and come
the pressure
back on no more CRs,
and force them to hold it, force them to be
and the
responsible.
debt ceiling that gets shoved to the side.
But now Mitch McConnell is working with Chuck Schumer, his good buddy. You know, they've been colleagues. They're working
And Joe
together.
Biden. And Joe Biden. They're all buddies.
Oh, yeah, because he's from the Senate, too. So they're working on a continuing resolution. They're having conversations in the Senate. I mean, they're in session today talking about a continuing resolution to kick the can down the road again into January, late January, maybe early February. Do you know what that does? That's like saying, here, Democrats, we're going to loan the federal government a little bit more money so you guys can have time to finish all your arguments and debates between Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and the progressives in the House over what you're all going to agree on with your Build Back Better, Build Back Broke communist agenda for America with the Green New Deal and Bernie Sanders.
Dude, the thing is that pisses me off about listening to right wingers is 90% of what they're saying is just like catchphrases and virtue signaling, right? Broke back better, communism, jihad squad. Like it's, come on.
This is why all of you at home, you need to tell Mitch McConnell, we are done holding hands with your Democrat friends.
No more kumbaya.
No more kumbaya. We're not playing games. Put the pressure on.
By the way,
every
it was $500 billion. It was essentially $500 billion to get from the last time on the debt ceiling here.
Yeah. Has anybody given y'all $500 billion when your business closed down? And is anyone giving you $500 billion? No.
Wait, it was the Republicans who undercut the bill and stopped it from being more ambitious and getting more direct dollars to the American people and having a bigger child tax credit and all these other things. What do you mean? It was literally you.
Biden is in a total free fall as far as acceptability or approval from independents, even from Democrats. But right now, if you look at independents, it's 30%.
Rejection, by the way.
How can any Republican support anything that he's doing right now? They are absolutely imploding in the demographics among Hispanics, among African-American males, among a broad of Asians, right? Right now, he's imploding across the board. Why would you throw these guys a life raft? What is the logic up here?
There is no logic up here. This is why we're nearly $30 trillion in debt. There are a bunch of imbeciles that just figured out how to trick you guys into voting for them. We have to do better, America. We have to get rid of these people. So here's what everyone can do today. Here, let me give you a little job to do today because it's happening right now. Right now, let's call Mitch McConnell.
She's targeting Mitch McConnell. And let me tell you why she's doing that. That sounds like she's like ambitious, right? That she's like really punching up. She's making a political calculation, right? She's punching at Mitch McConnell specifically because by the time she could ever get to the Senate, which hopefully will never happen, Mitch McConnell will no longer be in politics, will no longer be the minority leader of the Senate, right? And she's choosing Mitch McConnell because she's not in the Senate. It doesn't really matter that much what Mitch McConnell thinks of her. You know what does matter? Kevin McCarthy. What Kevin McCarthy thinks of her. Let's see what type of statements she's made about Kevin McCarthy, who's also the Republican establishment. Major Taylor Greene says Kevin McCarthy doesn't have the votes or full support from House GOP to be Speaker. Well, that's very tempered down from the type of language that Mitch McConnell was getting. That's strange. She also happens to vote exactly the same as McCarthy wants her to vote and has basically a identical voting record. Almost as if she's willing to lash out at the Republicans that don't matter directly to her ability to, have power and be fine in the House, but is not willing to do the same to Kevin McCarthy. Other parts of the Republican establishment. Almost like it's an act. It's all, plain pretend. She's going to lash out the Republican establishment, but only at the Republican establishment.
Don't give death threats. We don't need those news stories. Here's what you're going to say. Senator McConnell, we are counting on you to not work with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, and we are counting on you to not loan them any more money and not give them another gift of time to pass Joe Biden's agenda.
When they call, no continuing resolution. Make them come forward now.
Shut the government down. Make the Democrats.
You see Steve Bannon jumps into action after she says shut the government down.
Oh,
own it. Let it be their failure.
They shut the government down.
Yeah, the Democrats are the ones that shut it down.
She said, "Shut it down." I mean, the Democrats shut it down.
That Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer shutting down Biden's government, right?
Misspoke. Shutting the government down. I understand that there's like some people who think it's like that's just like a fun little tactic that maybe we should make use of. A good reason. One of the reasons why government employees vote pretty left is not only because they're in metropolitan areas, but also because many government employees have bad experiences with government shutdowns where they can't put food on the table. And it's usually the Republican Party that is the one that is shutting the government down. So I would say that Democrats don't have the same kind of maneuverability when it comes to just jokingly, like Lamau, a bunch of people are not going to be able to feed their families this week.
And that's why I like AOC as a bartender. We need more bartenders and more business people.
Yeah, if she can make a decent drink.
There it is, right? It's not like, oh, well, she was one of the gross working class people, not one of the good working class people, right? She was one of the disgusting ones, not one of the good ones that vote for me, right?
We need more practical people and fewer lawyers. Okay. You ran a business. If you were to say, hey, how about this? We're not increasing the debt ceiling at all. The cash comes in, just like in a business. If you have debt, you owe the banks get paid off first. Mm-hmm. Then the waterfall is you get capital to run your business. And then sometimes you say, hey, guess what? I have 100 people, but I don't have cash after paying people for 100 people. I have to go to 80 people, or I have to get some of these projects I'm doing. I love these projects and the priorities, but when I prioritize my projects, I have to go in some sort of rank order. There's some projects in my company that can't get paid for. If we get focused on the debt,
you have to make hard decisions.
You
cut programs. You cut certain projects. You stop overspending in your business. People do this. We do this all the time, every day. No program ever starts, ever
Why
ends.
is leadership right now?
By the way, she won't say which programs. Does she mean Social Security? Well, no, of course not. Do you mean child tax credits? Oh, well, no, I love tax credits. What does she mean? I'd like to hear specifics.
Saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. No increase in the debt ceiling. As the cash comes in, we'll prioritize the government securities because we're not going to stiff the widows and orphans.
No, you get your Social Security check. I do want to be clear.
Yes, you do.
You get that will not stop. You paid for that. That's your money. You get your Social Security check. When the government shuts down.
Oh, yeah, maybe she means the Veterans Administration. Maybe she means the VA. Maybe our veterans should get less benefits. Like, who knows? When you just say vaguely cut programs, I mean, what that does is do nothing but create a precedent for cutting programs when you don't specify what program should be cut. Maybe she means the military. Maybe she doesn't support our troops.
Here's what the issue is. We're already a socialist government. It is already here. It's been here. It's been here for quite some time. They're already socialist. What we have to stop is communism. That's really what we're up against. Our country's already socialist. We've already got handout programs, nonstop handout programs. Here's your child care check. Here's your medical. Here's your check for this. Here's
your check for this. Thank you.
Your check for that.
Check for this. Check for that. Not too specific. I think she said child care.
Build Back Broke. Once this gets in, it'll never be unwound.
It will never be undone, and it's communism. It will never be undone.
What? I would like to hear the definition.
And then we'll be stuck dependent on China.
Short commercial break. We're back in with the firebrand, Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, next in the War Room.
Okay, last part, and then we're done. Then we can move on and cover some fun stories, okay?
Monitors us, censors us, deplatforms us. Conservatives have been helpless to do anything about it until now. Join Getter, the social media platform that supports free speech.
Another one. Every week, we got another one of these Twitter knockoffs.
And opposes cancel culture. On Getter, you can express your political beliefs without fear of Silicon Valley liberals coming after you.
You can say the N-word. Thank you very much.
Getter is led by former Trump advisor and War Room co-host Jason Miller, who saw what big tech did to President Trump and decided to fight back. Getter is the fastest growing social media platform in history, with 2 million users, including prominent conservatives like Mike Pompeo, Marjorie...
By the way, 2 million users. Think about how small that is in comparison to something like Twitter. Jesus Christ.
Taylor Greene and Steve Bannon. Join Getter. It's in the App Store, the Google Play Store, and at Getter.com. Longer posts, longer videos, sharper and clearer pictures. And unlike the Silicon Valley oligarchs, Getter will never sell your data. Send a message today. Join Getter. It's time to cancel culture.
Phones blowing up, people come as that's amazing. What's the T-shirt is from what the prominent
cat turd.
And how do you know these folks?
Well, he's from my district, actually. Originally, he's from Ringgold, Georgia.
If you guys don't know, Cat Turret is a right wing comedy account. I think here it is. This is why I absolutely love Major Taylor Greene. Very strange that in this they didn't specifically name Donald Trump when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein case, even though that was who specifically the pilot named. It was him and Bill Clinton.
But yeah, this is one of the greatest accounts. You guys have to follow him. He's the real deal. He speaks what every single regular American says, and that's most of our country for all you people that are stuck in the swamp and don't understand how the rest of America works. But this is a great account, great guy, great people.
You have these great accounts. You've got Conservative Treehouse. You've got you've got all these people out there just do
incredible people.
Incredible people. If you
They're the ones should be on national television.
100%. They got to get more exposure.
Yes.
Because
To be clear, the account is it's like an anonymous account with a cat. It's not. I don't know if exactly needs national exposure.
So many of them. I wish we could name them all.
I wanna go back to something about you're mocking. Oh,
we should invite Cat Turret on Hippy Dippy.
The Economist, our favorite magazine of the party of Davos. The Economist cover story, and if Denver could please put that up. The Economist cover story basically laid out the thesis of Marjorie Taylor Greene, the triumph of big government. And they're saying, hey, all this limited government happy talk is over. And the reason it's over is that the Republican Party didn't stand up for it. They talked about it on campaigns and raised money. But when they came to D.C., they embraced let's get bigger and let's get bigger.
You want to know why? We've already lost small government. It's over with. It is completely over. We're already big government. We're just on the...
Okay, then pack it up. Go home then. Goodbye. If you already lost.
And we already see it. And it's not even been a year of Joe Biden. These vaccine mandates, absolute communism.
Mandating vaccines is communism. So when George Washington mandated vaccine inoculation to his troops, was he a communist? Okay.
That dream, that fairy tale that we all like to hang on to with our Constitution, and we talk about all of these wonderful things that we once had, they killed it decades ago. They killed it with NAFTA. They killed it. It's over with. We are literally on the verge of going into communism because we're already in socialism. And that...
what's the socialism?
I mean, that economist right there flat out saying it.
Wait, no, he said it was big government, not socialism. Those are two totally different things. There's authoritarian governments that are really big that aren't socialist. That's the socialism.
We have no choice.
Talk about your fight back. What are you doing now? How can people support you? By the way, go to Getter, go to your social media. They got to follow you because you're coming in hot every day.
I need help because let me tell you something. I'm already under attack today because I actually spoke up against Nancy Mace for her trashing Lauren Boebert. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't believe how ridiculous all of this is. MTG4America.com. I need your support, you guys. Small dollar donors is the only thing that keeps me going. I
like how at the start of the interview, which was it was like an hour ago, she was like, I'm sick of all these donations. You're making donations, and then you know what they go to? Political consultants, people like that. And by the end of it, please give me money. Please, small dollar donations. And you know who she's going to pay? Political consultants. Because she hires political consultants just like everyone else does.
Take money from the lobbyist. I don't
take
money
What
from
are you
the
looking
big
for in
corporations.
people when you come in and back candidates and people go, oh my God, she's breaking
Wait, did she just say she doesn't take money from lobbyists? The Archer Auto Group, the Carnissa Investment Fund. These look like lobby. I mean, it's one thing to say you don't take money from corporations, but to say you don't take money from lobbyists?
She's breaking the ironclad rule. She's actually supporting people running against incumbents. What qualities? Because you're not going to have 100. You're going to choose
I'm
smartly.
choosing a small number.
What qualities are you looking for?
This is hard for me because there's so many great candidates, Steve. There's amazing people. But here's the rules. You have to be in a district you can win. I'm not going to support a great conservative Republican that's running in a Democrat district just for you to lose. That's a waste of donors' money. That's a waste of everyone's support. And that just pays consultants.
Again, she pays consultants and took $54,000 from PAC contributions, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
I'm all for capitalism, but we need Republicans that can win. The other thing is you have to be America first all the way. You have to be proven. You can't just be someone that runs your mouth on your social media or runs your mouth on the campaign trail. We're going to make sure you are who you are and aren't going to fall in line up here in Washington and just bow down so you can get your little titles and your committees. What we're interested in is people that are willing to put the regular American first, the small businesses first. We want to put policy in place that revitalize rural America instead of continue to destroy it and tear it down. What we want to do is we care about our border. We care about our traditional family values and stopping the trans agenda that the Democrat Party and now some Republicans are waging on families. What we're going to do is we're going to stop the racism every single way it comes. Most importantly,
she's going to stop the racism? You called Ilhan Omar part of the jihad? Oh, whatever.
We are going to...
I don't even know what I'm trying.
To fight to stay out of the global economy, falling into the globalist trap, and we are going to fight the CCP because that country has invaded us and they're on the verge of taking us over if we do not get serious about how we run this government. So I am supporting candidates that aren't here because they need a job, that are giving up a great life, and they're willing to come here to Congress and do the right thing, fight alongside me and some of my great colleagues who I'm so thankful for. And these are the people I'm looking to support, Steve.
Remember, the first rule of the Fight Club is fights that matter. I guess the first rule is there is no Fight Club, but the second rule is fights that matter.
The first rule wasn't there isn't no Fight Club. It's don't talk about. How do you do a Fight Club reference and not even know what the rule is?
SASPAC.com. That's where you can donate to help me.
Wait, so you said you don't take from lot, and now you're throwing out a political... Oh, whatever.
Bring in these great fighters so that we can get the right people in 2022.
And you're going to be on Getter and Twitter all week telling people about what's happening with the continuing resolution.
Absolutely.
They need the inside baseball. Folks
Absolutely.
need that inside baseball.
You know, I had dialed back on live videos and videos for a while on.
Oh, I wonder why.
Now's the time.
Now I'm gonna.
Yeah, I wonder why, because you can't slip up without accidentally, like, I don't know, bullied a school shooting of survivor. Fucking making threats towards your colleagues. I wonder why. Dude, could you imagine if Marjorie Taylor Greene streamed for 6 hours a day like I did, the type of shit we'd get from her? My God.
Short commercial break. We'll be back for the second hour. We're going to be on fire. I think this was hot.
Okay, that's enough of that. I'm interested in what this ad looks like.
I feel like I'm one of the luckiest people in the world, really, because I've been able to live the American dream. And I very much want my children to be able to have that same American dream. I'm a political outsider. I'm not a career politician. I'm a successful business owner. And if I ran my company the way Congress is running our federal government, I'd be out of business. I'm also a wife and a mom.
Really? It's almost like a government is different than a business. Because a government's main job isn't profit. Okay. Your daddy literally gave you a construction company, you sold you a CEO? I don't even know her personal history that much. But yeah, she doesn't really come from a working class background, to say the least.